And we're rolling. This video is about the fact that I'm having to look around for another medical system because I'm clearly appears to be I'm the object of revenge by the Baylor Scott and White clan. I'm going to speak specifically about 3 of their nightmarish doctors. And as I've been pondering this all day, I'm considering actually even going to another state or leaving the mainland just to rest and accept the fate that they want me. They want the big man's dominant arm, which goes against their dominant arm. You know, they want me crippled. They don't want to. For Let me preface what I'm about to say is that my primary focus for the past 8 months has been doing live cell migration on my left foot, which appears to be deliberately botched by, I'm gonna probably messed up his name, a Jason or Justin Booth, a plastic surgeon in Austin who has admitting rights at St. David's Trauma Facility, South Austin. Nice building. I had the best room there. It's biggest and best, and but we had a lot to deal with. We had to decide how many holes, up to 4 in me, and you know who goes first. He got to go first, and the first time he did it right. He put a impervious, a water impermeable, a waterproof covering on to hold the graft on, and a little bit of bandaging, but with a vacuum. Anytime you have an impervious cover over a wound, a big wound, you have to have vacuum. Or if it's even not if it's something that's going to be bleeding a lot, you got to have a vacuum on there. And the second time he didn't put it on there, and I knew it was going to fail. So I spent a better part of 8 months. Well, I knew after about 6 months I would save the foot, absolutely. That I would eventually get the foot closed. Not the first time I've done live cell migration, skin grafting, 6, 7 times bigger than that, 8 times bigger than that on my right leg. I think that's what bothers some doctors, is that a lot of them take offense at the fact that I'm not submissive and worshipful, and I know what's going on. I can understand what's going on. I'm just not a doctor, so not a doc sucker, as I call them. I'm not a doctor worshiper. Especially a lot of you people during COVID were treating people who just had like a certified nursing assistant degree. You were treating like healthcare heroes and throwing money at them. Okay? When we all know, anyway. Let me get to it. You're going to find this, I'm sure. You're going to find 3 monsters like the ones I'm about to describe in every medical system, big medical system. The first doctor that I saw in Scott and White was a guy named Justin Booth Barrows, who was one of the most effeminate, nutty doctors I've ever seen and stuff. He just on the attack from the very minute I sat down. And by the way, he set me in the same seat in which they had let in a patient before ours who was clearly incontinent, and they hadn't bothered to wipe the seat. And the pattern on the seat, I couldn't see the brown. I took a picture of it, sent it to my best friend, an attorney, showing them that they didn't even, and they had all the COVID. They had huge. They had like a gallon, 2 gallon, deal of cleaning liquid. They had all kind of had a new sink in there. They had all it was all set up to clean up one little shit wipe from Dr. Booth Barrow. I wonder if that's his married name or whatever. Not that he's married to a woman. He did was one of the most. It's real off-putting. Women have this deal where they sling their right leg over their left. They put their left knee on top of their right knee on top of their left knee, and then they put their left hand on top of their right knee, and then their right hand on top of their, and they lean forward, and that's the kind of a female signal that I'm about to attack you and kick your ass, and and he even at one point said, "I think you're schizophrenic." Really, doctor? I've had psych exams by the state, by the government, by all sorts of entities who are looking for that shit. And at no time has anybody even suggested that I might be anywhere schizophrenic, have any sort of schizoidal, schizotypal, any kind of disorder like that. He just goes, "I think you're." All he was doing was just trying to shit all over me. He just, And so the next I went to see, managed to get in with, and am now regretting the fact that my primary care physician is a Dr. Sarah Severson, which I'm the only one who pronounces her name correctly. Dr. Sarah Severson said, well, in order for me to continue prescribing, brand name Xanax to you, you'll need to go see a shrink, because you don't go to see shrinks. I told her I don't go to see shrinks. They're useless. They don't really. But she said, I really can't. That's the kind of the rules and regs or whatever and crap like that. I know I'm probably going to go 20 minutes on this. I'll try to keep it. Sorry, but I'm getting me a cigarette. I don't give a fuck. I really don't. I'm looking at having to give up living here in Pleasant, Pflugerville, Texas, where 98% of the people are really nice to me. There's only been 2% that have been complete jerks. Compared to my 2 years in Austin, this place is almost heaven. Okay. So I'm having to face all this. Let me get on with the first weirdo that I couldn't believe him. It just couldn't, especially that, he's got all the places. I'm the only patient in the place. He's got like 4 assistants in there or something like that. He's got a personal nurse that should have known that guy was probably wearing a diaper and was incontinent. He may have been an ambulatory COVID patient, and he left shit all over the seat. No, really. That's the kind of place I walked into. It was a little Scott and White clinic on kind of the edge of Bryan. It was actually rural, completely rural, pastoral on one side, and that was Justin Booth Barrow, Psycho Deluxe. Oh my God, I really pity anybody who has to suck his ass to get medical treatment. Then next comes Jason. It's funny how Jason Morris Bowley. That's the shrink that I picked out. He was a 5-star. He appeared to be the best shrink. I figured, actually I should have gone for the younger one or the other, because he turned out to be the fucking nuttiest of them all. He really did. I think it's on there. It's on my complaint. It's available on the web if you want to look it up. I think it was on September 24th of 2021. I was actually having my second meeting with him. And he was late. I was there on time, early. And he comes hustling in, and he's appeared to have already been in the building. I mean, he wasn't wearing a jacket or any of it, but I noticed he was already perspiring a little bit. But right off the bat, I noticed that he had gone from a nice head of hair to having trimmed his hair down to a millimeter. A millimeter. I mean, Travis Bickle, that kind of shit. Uh, and as he sat at his desk and stuff like that, he began to perspire heavily, almost like somebody who had just done some heroin, to be honest. I mean, he was sweating like a junkie. He really was. And I'll do it with my left hand. With his right hand, he was just clawing. I mean, really just like the pressure you see there, just clawing the side of his face while listening to me and stuff, talk about life on the streets of Austin and how you're constantly, what he called later, he exercised his rights under PEOC to have me arrested and locked up, saying that, then he really got, in his written report, he went totally crazy. Said I was Jesus. That never happened. Said all kind of crap. That he was just pulling out of his ass anything to make me look bad, to make me look nuts. Said I showed him my knife. No, I didn't. And when I tell this story to other people, they're going like, of course you're going to have, violent thoughts all the time. It's called self-defense. When you're in especially the places I've been in Austin, Texas, you're constantly thinking about how you're going to counter or what tactic or how you're going to have to maim or kill your next attacker because you're constantly being attacked. And he had locked me up for that. Next morning, Dr. Owens said, there's no problem. You're fine. You'll be released and, you're free or whatever. But no, Cross Creek, their facilities, once they get a hold of you, you're in there. You can't really get out politely without them. They'll call the cops on you if you try to just walk out the unlocked door. Actually, they control the doors. Even though I was in an unlocked area, I wasn't in lockup. I was in the free to roam around area because I was not a violent and am not a violent patient or person unless I have to be. Unless I have to be. And that's where they start dragging it out. They're not going to let you out of that facility, even though its law says 48 hours, until you sign a mountain of waivers and releases so that I couldn't sue Dr. Boley. I couldn't sue them. I couldn't sue anybody. The amount of paper that you've got to, there's no way it would take days to read it and to accurately, you have to sign in order to get out. You have to let them all off the hook, even though they're all bad actors. I remember stopping at the door. Jim, who was in there trying to he had a regular cult of people who self-admitted when they're like disability check and run down or they'd run out of dope at the end of the month, they'd come in and self-commit. Kind of that Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcanon crowd that's always lying through their teeth and saying, I've been clean and sober for 38 days when you just saw them down at Judy's pounding down the shots and beer and then smoking some meth. And as he was leaving, he goes, well, I was nice to you. And I go, no, you weren't, Jim. I'm an adult. I decide what is nice to me. You were not nice. As I pushed out the door and left. He was deliberately trying to get my Uber driver to leave. He delayed handing me my phone by almost an hour after he was required to. So that's the story of Jason Morris Boley, Psycho Deluxe, trying to run 5 psychiatric clinics. One of them, I'm sure, is in Temple. It's probably his primary one. And that's how he knows Dr. Sproul. It was Dr. Gregory, I think that's his name, Sprouls. I think there's an S at the end. even though Dr. Key, Kee, and Dr. Huang had orthopedic surgeons had recommended that my shoulder be replaced, and they recommended me to their shoulder guy, referred me to Dr. Sproul. Dr. Sproul made up his mind before I got there that he wasn't going to repair my shoulder. In reviewing some of his records, I can see why. Is he's a scope guy. He's not a real cutter. Some of them prefer scopes because they're minimally invasive, less blood loss, etc. And the ladies and the young people really love that scoping stuff, and some of them that's the way they're trained. I don't think he really does many shoulder replacements. I don't think he's old enough to have done many. And if he primarily works with scope. And the minute I got in there, I'll repeat again, the guy didn't have the balls to tell me up front that he had decided he's not going to repair my shoulder. And then he began marketing all these Scott and White features to me, just like I discussed in the last video. All the pain management clinic. Oh yeah, like I don't already know how to manage pain. Just give me the fucking pills, okay? That's how it works. Just give me the fucking pills. I don't need to listen to you. I'm 70 fucking years old. I was the last legal ad lib prescription holding addict in this country. Have no trouble giving up opioids when the time is right. The time ain't right now. Matter of fact, I got mildly drunk yesterday just because the pain was just so fucking annoying. It just grinds on you. And he's, oh yeah, and we're going to give you these rubber bands and these other things, some kind of exercise. All he was talking about was going to and he was looking at me like I wasn't intelligent enough to understand that what he was telling me was that he decided to just kind of throw me to the wolves, and that they had probably figured out that they could probably make 2 or 3 times more money by running me through the milking barn for as long as I lived, going to rehab and going to pain management. They could make several times more money than they could make from. The guy's a dirtbag. The guy's a fucking nut. Gregory Sproul, fuck you. Fuck your dog. Fuck your husband. Everything. You're a fucking loser, just like Jason Morris Boley. He's a fucking nut job. A nightmare nut job who gets to use his legal power to lock, innocent people up. And then that fucking sissified motherfucking Justin Boone Barrow, who claimed that he thought I was schizophrenic when he was the most schizo-acting, fucking effeminate fucking weirdo I've ever fucking seen as an MD. It's just unbelievable. So right there. And the problem is you're going to find this in every medical system that you enter, is you're going to run into, if you don't watch out, if you don't listen to, if you don't really do some research, you're going to find out. And don't pay attention to those 5-star ratings, because those are the ones, see those doctors, the real crazy doctors. I just got bad looks because I was from some pink-haired fucker because I was talking about how effeminate Justin Boone Barrow was. Fuck you, rat faggot bastard with the pink ass hair. That's why you're doing DoorDash, dude, is you can't get a regular job. You're going to find lunatics like this in every but they always get a lot of 5-star ratings and shit like that from their patients, because they notice stroke a certain amount of patients, and most patients are, let's face it, triple, barely 100 IQ or less, and know nothing about medicine or doctors, don't know how to evaluate a doctor, can't tell whether a doctor's good or bad. As long as they survive it, they're always just lavishing praise on doctors. Oh, you did me so good, doctor. I really hate doc suckers. I'm talking about the nurses and all the other people that worship doctors, medical doctors. As the guy that Marcus Aurelius, I think it was, hired to follow him around and keep whispering in his ear, you're only a human. You're only a man. You're not a god. And you doctors during COVID, the federal government and the law enforcement gave you the power of gods. You're not gods. You're not even very good at science. And we, most of the population, know that you don't know shit about virology or vaccines or about the Delta 32 mutation. And we know that the media shut up those of us who kept trying to educate the public. Y'all called it disinformation and misinformation and said we're deadly. You insisted that everyone in this country needed to get a vaccination, which is now up to like 8 or 9 vaccinations and boosters. That still don't work, don't stop transmission, and don't keep you from getting this absolutely sublethal, statistically irrelevant virus that only costs $900,000 for the U.S. to purchase from the Wuhan laboratory. Yeah, that last little bit's iffy, but that did come up during a congressional hearing, is that the congressman did hold up a $900,000 check, I believe that was signed by Fauci himself, to the Wuhan laboratories. What was that for, doctor? So, if you trust doctors, at my age, especially when you see a really nutty one, like the 3 I pointed out. Now, I've got 3 of these fuckers who absolutely hate me. And within other systems too, you think St. David's and Austin Seton or Ascension Seton, they only like you if you're one of their buddies that live on the west side of Austin and have that platinum Cadillac, and you'll pay all the extra cash copays too. That's what they're really after. It's really, when it comes to these big medical facilities, they got to have that money. They got to have them shekels. They weren't satisfied with how many trillions of dollars they just racked up from the COVID scam-demic. They weren't happy with that. They weren't happy with enough power with that. They want that to go on forever. They want to have total control over society. Up in Maine, I'll end with this. Up in Maine, you can't even send your kid to pre-K. You can't even attend college online unless you have had your COVID, all of them. And by pre-K, by age 4, you're supposed to be able to go to any kind of public school, or I think even private school too. 72 vaccinations. 72. And as someone who is medically, scientifically knowledgeable, just sticking an infant, a toddler, 8 to 12 times per visit, just sticking needles in them triggers the human inflammatory response, which could result in death. That's a fact. If you don't know that what I just said is true, you're a fucking dumbass. And you'll probably end up going to see people like Gregory Sproul, who's going to use a scope on your minor rotator cuff care. I don't think he's had the experience. I really should have known the minute I saw him that he's not old enough. He's probably 40, looks 25. But really, in looking for an orthopedic surgeon, you want one that's almost pure white-haired and has done it a bunch of times. That's who saved my knee, was white-haired, Lloyd Taylor, San Francisco. Great surgeon. If you're a good doctor, I'll say so. If you're a shit doctor, I'm probably going to be here on YouTube talking about what a psychotic, nightmarish doctor you guys were. You three doctors, old wise men of Baylor, Scott, and White. You can go lick my ass.